Well, George, welcome back to Countdown.
All right.
First of all, I've got to ask, where did you get that costume from?
Well, this one,
Yeah.
I borrowed it off your mother.
Oh, really?
No.
I told her not to wear the medals.
No.
What seems to be almost a common thing these days, groups after a while almost turn their back on their own name and their own product.
Mm-hmm. A lot of artists suffer because they forget exactly why they were there. You forget what you're doing. You lose track of it. You know, you're so busy going to premieres and, you know, brushing with other stars. You forget why you ever started a band. You know, those days when you used to be in a great rehearsal room laughing and having fun, they're gone. And that's like horrific.
I wonder who that is. That someone's coming for us, I think.
I think it's Spandau Ballet being arrested for not having enough songs. No, it's just terrible. You know, you really do you just get strangled by what you're really, you know, you forget, you get lost in all this sort of haze of wonderful publicity, and that's a shame, I think.
I can recall the time when we went to Adelaide, and we were standing above that mall, that shopping mall.
Oh, wow.
And you turned around to me and you said to me, "Should I sing them a song? Shall I sing them Karma?" And I went, "What?" And you started singing it without any fear, and you were right spot on your pitch and your key.
Well, when I was in Australia, you know, it was so wild. You know, the kids were so wild, and it's just, I think it's the only country I've ever actually experienced that kind of fanaticism and dedication, and it was just like, you know, being with friends, and so you naturally responded to that. You know, I remember coming back from a gig at Hammersmith, and these kids were driving me crazy. I mean, I really wanted to throttle them. These girls, they were outside the gig, and I talked to them, and they were outside my house when I got home, and they were like pushing, and I'd just done this gig, and I was so tired. It was a whole week we did, and they were throwing things at me, you know, presents, and I got up the stairs, and I lived in this really small little flat, and I slammed the door closed, and I slunk down onto the floor, and I started opening these presents. There was a tease made, and I just thought, oh, I felt so bad, so guilty. I mean, they're the sort of things that remind you of how important everything is, and you know, it does drive you mad, but there's so many things that sort of pull you back down to earth all the time in this business, you know. There's
a lot of programs and a lot of sort of projects that go on about anti-drugs. What would your advice, without lecturising, be to someone that was ever contemplating?
I think the best thing I could do is, well, best for me, is to get well myself, you know, and first of all prove that, you know, if you have a problem, you can overcome it, because a lot of people who do have a drugs problem think that they're the only people that have it, and, you know, they're never going to get off it, and it is very hard to do. You know, when you get yourself into that trap, it's very difficult. And I think people, you know, I wish I could express how painful it is, you know, coming off drugs like that. I wish I could, you know, maybe do a film or something and show people how horrible it is, because if they saw that side of it, they definitely wouldn't get involved. And I think that, you know, that's why the media upset me, because I think it's not concern that they're showing, it's just sort of blowing it out of proportion. They're not sort of giving an answer. Right. So I would, you know, I think the best thing I can do is, you know, get myself together and then just show people that, you know, there are other things to do, you know. Right. And I think, you know, the thing about, you know, rock and roll generally, it's still very much like that, you know, and I used to think it wasn't, but it is still very much like the drugs thing, you know, it's very hip. You know, there are certain drugs that a lot of pop stars take, and you'd be surprised how many people are like that, you know. And now, you know, I look at it, you know, from a different point of view, you know, and I just feel that it's a very corny thing, you know.
Well, another thing that because of your lifestyle and because, you know, you tend to sort of be outrageous and sometimes promiscuous, is the case, and we've seen it so much this week in England, and it's becoming a worldwide problem, but the awareness now is like AIDS. I mean, what would your advice be to anyone who can't, well, the approach to trying to understand AIDS?
Well, it's very difficult because, like, sex generally is like such a, you know, such a pleasurable thing. Everybody, like, lusts after other people, and it's one of the human desires which is very hard to sort of hold back. But I think, well, in England, you know, people are being a lot more careful, and, you know, I mean, little kids are seeing the sort of TV advertisements, and it's getting to everybody, you know, and it's been very heavy. I mean, it's the heaviest it's been in England, this sort of AIDS thing. I've done a few programs about it. I did one about sort of a year ago when it first started to sort of break into this, you know, when everyone was getting worried. The only answer is, you know, to find yourself somebody that you can be happy with, you know, find one person, and it is difficult. But you know, the other problem is much worse. I mean, to sort of catch a disease like that is frightening, you know. And also, the thing with drugs as well is that if you are weak physically, you've got more chance of catching it, you know. And there are, you know, a lot of people who take drugs that have caught it from using, you know, needles and things like that. So, you know, the whole sort of decadence thing is a risk, and you just have to be careful.
And it's great to see you looking a lot healthier than last time.
Thank you.
Thanks, mate.